This morning, I sat down with 3 self-identified independent voters here in Pennsylvania to find out what matters most to these swing voters and how last night's debate could factor into their decision. Here's part of our discussion when I asked them their impressions on Fetterman's performance and how it colored their thinking ahead of Election Day.
I think it was very difficult to watch. You know, I kind of felt sorry for him up there. Of course, like, he had a stroke and he's suffering, and his doctors say that, you know, he's fit to serve, but I had a hard time comprehending what he was trying to, you know, convey.
I felt almost, you know, bad for John Fetterman. I think there's no question that his social media campaign has been very sharp and good and appealing, but when he got on the debate stage, I couldn't really understand a lot of the points he was making. And on the other side, I thought Oz looked pretty sharp. I think sounded like a politician, and I don't know that Fetterman was really able to convey many of his positions on issues.
I have a background in the military as a medic, and saw many people suffer traumatic brain injuries. So I keep that in mind as I am, you know, viewing what Fetterman is going through. He's healing, and I don't think we would hold that against anybody else if they had a broken arm and they were healing. So he's on his road to recovery, and we kind of have to keep that in mind. It's the human side of him.
Is there something Fetterman can do to reassure you?
I think it's doubtful.
I think about, you know, my buddies that came home with traumatic brain injuries, and that's exactly what a stroke is.
Right.
So keeping that in mind, and seeing how so many of my friends have come home and functioning perfectly fine. So I keep that in my mind as I consider what everybody else saw on the stage last night.
I think if he faces the voters, faces the public a little bit more often, you know what I'm saying, I think if he can show that he is improving, you know what I mean, and that if he is going to be in office, you know, his injury or his stroke won't affect his ability to serve.
I also asked those voters what's weighing on them and what's really driving their vote on November 8th. Here was their response.
I think number one, what comes down to me for what I vote, I'm a young, about to be professional, and I think I'm looking at the world right now, and I'm looking at economic conditions. I'm looking at what the economy's doing, prices of goods, gas, things like that, and what it's going to be like for me to get a mortgage one day. I'm looking at that economic situation, and I think more than anything that's driving my vote, so I'm looking for a candidate that's going to provide that. I'm
undecided because I'm demoralized with electoral politics altogether, you know what I'm saying? And
why is that? Tell me more about that.
Well, it's because the neighborhood that I'm from, for example, I'm from Homewood, and whether it's a Democrat or Republican in the White House or in the governor's mansion, or a Democrat, you know, in the mayor's house, you know, our neighborhood never changes, you know what I'm saying? So, like, my concern is, like, social economic conditions, particularly poor and black neighborhoods all over this state. You know?
I have a young son, so I am thinking about some of the social issues that are going on in our society, and, you know, raising my son and what the future is going to look like for him. So much like Mike with the economy and inflation, you know, it's hurting all of us, but also with social issues and the world that I want my son to be able to grow into.
Marilyn, are you satisfied with these 4 nominees, when the governor and Senate race, or do you feel as if they're sort of thrust upon you?
Yeah, they're thrust upon me. Yeah. Absolutely. They just, Mike put it well, they're out of touch. They're out of touch with what Pennsylvanians are.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.